So I'm gonna do Draw My Life, but make it a playlist, okay? Howdy, hello, how are you doing? My name is Victoria. I am a singer, songwriter, and someone who wants to open up conversations about music, the music industry, and where I find myself in the wild, wonderful world of music, okay? In today's video, I am doing my take on the 2012 YouTube trend of the Draw My Life thing. I cannot draw. I don't have an interest in drawing at this time. So I'm going to draw you a picture of my life using a playlist instead, okay? So here's how this is going to go. Here in this little big book, I have written out my life story using music as the catalyst to push the story along. The way that I did it was I took songs that kind of outline the different eras of my life and explain the way I was feeling or just give you a good idea of what was going on and use those songs to tell my own life story. So settle in, grab yourself a cup of tea, and allow me to tell you the story of Tori, all right? Let's playlist my life right now. It all starts in 1999. My parents turned the page to a new chapter of our family, and I was apparently pretty excited to be here. Or at least excited to be at the Bob Seger concert that my parents went to when my mom was pregnant with me. I was apparently going wild for Mr. Seger, and my mom said that's when she knew I'd be her musical child. She was right. Now that I was on the scene, we were officially a family of 5. I have an older brother and an older sister, and we lived in a little town called Logan, West Virginia, where I was raised for the majority of my life. It's an interesting place filled with some incredible people. You just got to be careful not to get caught on that merry-go-round people are always talking about. My family had a huge impact on my musical development throughout my whole life, but my mom and I have a special relationship with music. She was actually a singer and has an album of her own that came out before I was even a thought. One day when I was really little and my brother was in high school, he had an away game, and the whole family and some extended family friends decided we were all going to go. I decided that instead of riding with my mom and my dad, I was going to ride with a family friend. And it was all fun and games until she put on my mom's album. Next thing you know, I'm crying, we're on the side of the highway, and I'm, of course, being put back into my mom's car. So you could say I've always been my mom's biggest fan. When I went to kindergarten, I actually sang her song, Johnny Was a Coal Miner, for the West Virginia Coal Festival. I can still remember recording it in that little kindergarten classroom in Logan. My mom taught me so much about music and how to feel it with songs like Proud Mary by Tina Turner, which of course she taught me the dance to as well. And Aretha Franklin too. I actually performed her song Think for the 4th grade talent show. I don't know if anyone was expecting a 4th grader to come out with that, but I did, and I won first place. Now don't get me wrong, my mom passed down the taste, but my dad passed down the flavor. He wasn't a musician, but he had a great voice, and he'd sing Frank Sinatra around the house. That's Life was a frequent hum heard in the kitchen. And when it wasn't Frank in the kitchen, it was Pink and Nickelback in the car on the way home from practice or rehearsal or whatever it may be. I didn't want to be a stupid girl, but I did want to be a rock star, okay? When my mom or dad couldn't cart me around, that responsibility fell onto my older brother. It was in the backseat of his car that I'd hear my first extremely explicit song, Crack a Bottle. And shortly after that, when he left for college, I got his old iPod, which was filled with all of the cuss words I would ever need to know. I've always been what people consider an old soul. And in middle school, I started to feel like one a little bit. I was bullied a lot, and I struggled with my body image for years, but big girls don't cry, right? Things got a little better when I found out about One Direction, and they told little 11-year-old Tori all about what made her beautiful. But I got bullied for that too, and I started keeping everything to myself, and I carried forward. I grew up faster than I wanted to and was taken advantage of in a way that made me feel lost. One of the only places where I knew there was a safe space for me was in music. At the end of my 8th grade year, my dad got a new job, and it was time to leave the country roads of West Virginia and make our way to the wide open spaces of Ohio. There was about a year where I was in between states doing online school before it was the norm, and man, it really, really sucked. Thankfully, I had some incredible friends by my side to make sure I was going to be just fine. And my sister helped too. We bonded in our mutual hatred of the idea that we were leaving home. We didn't know how it would be better for us in the long run, but the time eventually came for us to thank our childhood home for the memories and get going. So we moved to Ohio. And in Ohio, they didn't really know how to deal with a redneck woman like me, so I didn't make a lot of friends until my junior year. My new school had a theater program where I found a place in a little group of theater kids. It was pretty funny that after everything I'd been through, I'd found a soft place to land. Eventually, I got my license, and that is where the fun begins. I drove all over the place, okay? And my friends and I would pile into my car and sing and talk and wonder about things like, what would life be like in the year 2525? And as junior year came to a close, that friend group kind of drifted apart, but some of my best memories in high school were with them. Still a lot of love there. Senior year was a tough one. I felt alone again, and like all the things going wrong around me weren't just a sign of the times, but a sign of all the things I wasn't capable of. I had no idea who I was or who I wanted to be, and it was like I was sleepwalking through my own life. I eventually found some other depressed teenagers to share that feeling with, and that's how I found my Grigio girls. We drive around and listen to music and smoke cigarettes and just feel our feelings. We were on a Hawaiian roller coaster ride to graduation. And graduate we did! Not before my senior project, of course, which is where I planned and directed a cabaret with all my friends. The finale was Super Trooper by ABBA. And Super Troopers we were after surviving the hellscape that is a high school theater program. I was accepted into college and began mentally preparing myself for what I thought would come with pursuing a degree in music and arts management, with my own hopes and dreams of having my Sugarland baby girl moment. But I wasn't ready for that, and freshman year ended up being one of some harsh self-discovery and reflection. By the end of it, I knew that there were no tears left to cry and that I needed to pick myself up and get on my way. So, over the summer, I focused on myself. I found a little bit of my own finesse and just started figuring myself out. Transition periods are weird for me and come with lots of mixed feelings. I was happy and sad. Happy with where I was going, sad that I wasn't on that path to begin with. But, come the beginning of my sophomore year, I really started feeling good. I was performing again, figuring out who I was as a musician, and was having my girls just want to have fun moment. My bestie and I had moved into our very first adult apartment. I adopted a cat without asking them, and we happily argued and giggled our way through the rest of the year. I started to take my songwriting seriously, and in this very book is where I finally recognized myself as a songwriter. It was like the words just spilled right onto the pages sometimes. Some of the paths that I once thought were beyond my reach were now scribbled and colored onto the pages of this journal. I did get a little distracted towards the end of the fall term, okay? I lost myself in the perception of others. I wanted to be someone else's supermodel so bad that I completely abandoned my sense of self for a minute. And let me tell you, if I could turn back time. Nope. Thankfully, this time it didn't take long to get back on track and onto the best part. One of my friends lived in a house that was the designated spot for the weekends, and I had become a frequent house guest the semester before. When the new semester started, a new face was in the house, and his name was Clay. There was distance at first, and things didn't fall together so easily, but it didn't take too long before the feeling turned into something real and genuine. It was like painting with watercolors. You don't know what it's going to look like until it settles in. We settled in pretty well, considering by the time he went home for the summer, he hadn't slept at his own house for about 2 months. My eyes were misty as he drove away from our little college town for the summer. We FaceTimed and watched movies and chatted about anything we possibly could, lots about missing each other. That was the summer of phone calls, cigarettes, and coffee. These days, there's a lot less cigarettes and a lot more coffee. And more cats. When we came back to school in the fall, we added another member to our little household and adopted Roxy. As the semester went on, I found myself losing the passion that I had for music. School was so tough and so specific, And I had never had my self-expression examined and quantified like that. It felt like I was being graded as myself, and it warped what my sense of music was. But I'd come home from class, see the cats, and Clay would pull out his guitar. I'd lay my head on his shoulder, and we'd all just vibe as best we could. Christmas break came and went, and before you know it, it's time for a global pandemic. All the plans that we had been making were thrown out the window just like everyone else's. Sometimes shit don't go your way, and when it doesn't, you have to make do. So we did. And somehow the beginning of lockdown was comforting in our little apartment with our little cats. We started playing Stardew Valley and made a fort in the living room that we slept, ate, and farmed in for over a week. The semester eventually ends, but the pandemic did not. We decided we needed to get the hell out of there, and so we left our little pandemic apartment and moved into our first house. The sunsets would come through the rainbow stickers I had over all the windows, and it made everything look pearlescent and golden at once. The driveway was lined with wild orange lilies, and something about those lilies made me want to write music again, so I did. I wrote a song about the lilies, and in it I manifested a life story that's ancestry could be traced back to the lilies themselves. Over that summer, I started having these peculiar, uncomfortable moments where my brain and my body weren't in sync. I thought that I was being a drama queen, but it kept getting worse and worse. I wrote in a journal entry that it felt like in an instant I was separated into different pieces of myself that I couldn't fit together. My stomach would drop. I would have flashes of memories and seeing what felt like dreams play in front of me. I was too scared that everyone would think I had lost my mind if I explained that I was having some type of weird deja vu with psychic visions, so I didn't say anything. And I distracted myself with one more cat to join the family, bringing us to a grand total of 3 cats, Roxy, Binks, and Graham. These cats are the reason that everybody wants to be a cat, especially me. They'd walk up and they'd make biscuits or nudge my head, and I wish that life for me could be as simple as that. It wasn't until after 6 months of random symptoms and flashes that I had my first tonic-clonic seizure, and was soon after diagnosed with epilepsy. The diagnosis felt like an atomic bomb, a completely unforeseen disruption of my entire life. So I really got into a dark and angry place for the first quarter of this year. I didn't even know what I wanted anymore or what I could do anymore, and everything felt like it was slipping through my fingers. But I started to take that control back soon enough. The house we were in never felt the same after that seizure, so when the lease ended, we moved. And somehow, this new house had wild orange lilies too. The flowers just do something to me because I was tired now. Tired of waiting and tired of overthinking and tired of being scared. I wanted to let my young heart run free with my wonderful boyfriend and my incredible cats, and my imagination wanted to run free too. And so I started thinking about what else I could do with this channel besides sing other people's songs. And now we're here, playlisting my life as my way of sharing who I am, where I come from, and my journey to believing in myself and believing in music. And that is the playlist of my life. I have never in my life felt about myself the way that I feel now. I feel loved and secure and like I have things to offer, and I know our little community on this channel right now isn't that big, but it's still a community to me, and I want to make sure that you guys feel like you have a safe space here as well. A space where you can share your thoughts and your feelings and your experiences. So if any of you want to playlist your life and share that with me, I would love to see it. I would love to hear it. Now, the playlist of my life tells you the story of how I got here. But I also want to start sharing the story of where I'm going. And that is the reason why today's video is also accompanied by an original song. So if you want to hear my song, Wild Orange Lilies, the acoustic version with me and Clay, then you can head over to my channel and watch that. This video was really therapeutic for me in a way that I wasn't expecting. And I really enjoyed using my writing in a different way. I haven't done this in a while. So let me know what you thought about this video. And if you have anything else you'd like to share, including your playlist of your life, definitely leave that in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and like and turn on post notifications if you want to be the first at the function next week, because it really does help little teeny tiny weenie beanies like me who are just trying to work their way up in this little YouTube world. So if you did have a good time like chit-chatting and smacking around with me today, go ahead and hit all them buttons. Y'all know the buttons. You've been on YouTube. You know what the buttons are. So the playlist of my life is linked in the description below, along with my socials. You can find me everywhere at Howdy I'm Victoria. That's me. Howdy, hello, how you doing? That's me. Thank you again for watching, and I hope this video was relaxing, and I hope that it felt like someone was just like reading you a little story, tucking you in, having a good old time. I hope you have a relaxing, wonderful rest of your evening, night, day, morning, whatever time it is that you're watching this, and I will see you next time.